Amúgy. This is AMÚGY podcast. Brought to you by University of Pannonia's Faculty of Humanities.
The host is Edina Csonka.
Hello everyone from the studio of AMÚGY podcast. I'm Edina Csonka, today's host, and with us today we have our very special guest, Marjolijn Verspoor. Thank you, Marjolijn, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Very exciting. Yeah.
So Marjolijn is an internationally renowned linguist. She also has been affiliated with our institution since 2014. You are listed in the top 0.04% of scholars according to Scholar GPC database. Your research focuses on dynamic system theory and usage-based perspective on language development and learning. And could you tell us a little about it? How did you become a linguist, and what do you exactly do in your field? Because that sounds just amazing.
Well, it's been a long way, very long road, and a very dynamic road, because, I first became a teacher of English, and then I decided just being a teacher was just not fun enough, so I studied linguistics, and then later I got my PhD in more theoretical linguistics, but I did most of this as a single mom, working full-time, and doing the PhD. I mean, I wrote it, but I was actually away from even my professors. And so then but after I got the PhD, I lived in the US for 20 years and with my 3 kids. And so after my divorce, I worked in Kansas City at the University of Missouri. But then I wanted to come back to the Netherlands because I wanted my kids to have a good education, and it was so expensive in the US. So then I got a job at the University of Groningen. I had my PhD, but I had no use or no experience in publishing things. I had, and I had not really been in a community where that was done. But then at one point, I kept on doing research and getting... But it was difficult to get really, a foot on the ground, as a researcher. What I found out is, so then at one point in, I forget, 2000 or 2002, Kees de Bot, my present husband, became full professor at the University of Groningen, and he kind of was indirectly my boss. That's how we met.
Oh.
And my colleague was Van der Looy, who was also in dynamic systems. And Kees de Bot was invited to do a, what do you call that in English? On the defense of a PhD dissertation on the committee. And he got in, he became... familiar with dynamic systems. And dynamic systems, in our own field, we really thought, that everything was caused directly by something. So if you teach it this way, then they learn it that way, and that there's a direct cause. And dynamic systems says, no, there's no direct cause. It's, everything adds up in how you learn a language, or how, and initial conditions are very important. So not everybody will be the same. So it depends on so many different things, and also on the context. So everybody's actually different in how they learn languages. And so I'd published some things before, but this really changed the thinking in many, many applied linguists. And so we wrote a book together, the 3 of us, my colleague and Kees and I. And then I was also a theoretical linguist, and I was familiar with usage-based linguistics. And usage-based linguistics is very similar to dynamic systems. Like, there's no little clock in your mind that teaches you when to learn what, or children don't learn grammar, or they don't learn things in exactly the same way. They learn from experience, from general learning mechanisms. And usage-based means you learn through use. So dynamic systems and usage-based kind of complement each other. And I have, in the last 20 years or so, we all kind of specialize in different things. But I really am interested in seeing how language develops in different people. Mm-hmm. So what do children learn first, or second language learners learn first, and how do they learn best? And and that has, the publications in that field have made my name but the thing is, by the time Kees de Bot moved to, became the professor at the University of Groningen, I was already 50. And I did not have a big name at all. I mean, I'd been a single mom. I couldn't go to conferences or whatever. So that's when I really started, having the time. And I retired from the University of Groningen. And actually now, I still teach at the University of Wespen. But I now actually have the time to publish more than I ever have before. And I really enjoy it, working with the team.
That's amazing. Like, that sounds like a very interesting field to work in.
Yeah.
And also it's really good that you find yourself back again and falling in love with it.
Yeah.
That's a good. And how did your story with University of Pannonia begin?
Well, again, my husband, Kees de Bot, whom we will talk about later on, he was invited as a plenary speaker at the conference that Judith Navracic organized. It's called Summer School Psycholinguistics or something like that.
Yeah.
And he really liked coming to this conference. And so he came here a couple of years in a row. And then Professor Navracic wanted to start the doctoral school. And she needed people that had published, international people. So then she first asked Kees de Bot, and there were already some other people that had agreed. And then she needed some more people, so then he asked me, and also Vincent van der Heuvel, who meanwhile, he's passed away. Mm-hmm. But so the three of us became professor here at the same time. And that was just a very exciting time.
How often do you stay here, or?
Well, before COVID, we came for several weeks, 2 or 3 times a year. And we even had a house here that we had kind of shared. So, and one of my colleagues lived there had her room, but it was nice to have like a common house. But when COVID came, and after COVID, it was just like we gave that up. And then the Zooming came in. So I teach a lot of my courses via Zoom. Mm-hmm. And since I teach a lot of academic writing, it actually works very well because I can show on the screen what I'm talking about. So I don't think every course lends itself for Zooming, and the students like it better if I don't. They like it better in person. But for the type of thing that I teach, I feel like it works very well. And I try to come twice a year.
Mm. That's then a good outcome from COVID.
Yeah. The only trouble is that if I Zoom a class and I meet them in person, and in the middle of the semester, then all of a sudden they're not interested in Zooming anymore. So I have to do one or the other, because then once they've had the real interaction, they don't really like the distance learning. So from now on, I think I'll come at the very end, and then because I do want to meet them, and it's so much nicer to meet them in person.
Yeah, and also, if I'm correct, besides your career, health and balanced lifestyle is also very important for you. Mm-hmm. You and your husband have been leading a very active lifestyle. What is your key to stay active and always find time for movement?
Actually, I haven't always been so good at moving, but when I worked at the University of Groningen, at one point we had this horrible boss, and I think 2 or 3 of my colleagues, we all just about had a burnout. It was just a very tense time, and then my doctor said, go to this and this therapy, and so I did. And then the doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you. All you need to do is move, move, move. And that's when I really got interested in moving. And I think, and I like to do it. I think I've always liked being outside. And I've always liked walking, but not really as a sport, but and not as regularly. But that really motivated. Of course, I had no kids at home anymore. I also had the time to do that more. And so, yeah, we got really interested in moving. Yeah. And I think one of the things that, so Kees and I have been together, about 23 years or 24 years. So and that's about that time where I found out that I needed to start moving. And he always would cycle to work at like 20 kilometers. And he got into running, so we ran together. And
that's so good.
I did that already before, but we love to hike. So on our vacations, so kind of not really like no competition type of thing, but just move and be outdoors is what we like.
Just for the joy of movement.
Yeah.
Also, Veszprém-Balaton region is this year's sport region of Europe.
Yeah.
So it really ties into that.
Oh, yes. And there's beautiful hiking paths around here and walking paths. And yeah, we've enjoyed, when we came here, we would always run around the VAR, good condition building. But I can imagine that Veszprém and this area would be wonderful for that.
It's very
and
suitable.
Lake Balaton and, with also the sailing and and the swimming.
Do you have a favorite spot around here?
I think the park, the beautiful park that's, between the mountains. There's a park here. What's it called? And there's a cute little restaurant there.
Oh, yeah, I know, under the castle. Yeah. That's a very great.
Yeah. But yeah, I hope that by the time this happens, that there would be more like paths that people can follow to take hikes and walks, because there's like no circles. I would have loved that. So hopefully they can build that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And also recently you did an exceptional bike tour.
Yeah.
You cycled 800 kilometers.
Uh-huh.
You also wrote a blog about it, which I had the pleasure to read. And also I would recommend it for our audience because it's available. Could you tell us a little about what inspired you to take the journey?
Okay. Well, we haven't talked about it in the blog, and I've talked about my husband, Kees de Bot, but when he was 60, so about 10 years after we'd gotten together, we knew he had Parkinson's disease. And the first 5 to 10 years, life went on as normal, but, it progresses. And so at one point he had to, cycling on a normal bicycle he was not able to do that. He was afraid he would fall. And so we bought a tricycle for him. And actually the Dutch government helps people to buy all that. It's just wonderful. And it's a wonderful tricycle, and it has electric support, nice gears. And if you see him cycling through Leiden, you'd think, my goodness, he's dangerous. But then, so the problem also with Parkinson's, it's not just physical, it's also cognitive, and probably things that you were not good at to begin with get worse. Well, Kees was able to get lost easily even, but then he could still read the Google Maps. But that part, he just gets lost. And so he had really, and when we bought the bicycle, he was just so happy with that new bicycle. He found this booklet, like Cycling to Barcelona, and he bought it. And I thought, okay, you can cycle to Barcelona if you want to. But then he got lost, and he couldn't possibly do that himself. And so the disease progresses, and he at one point was a little kind of down, and couldn't make him cheerful anymore. There were no projects, and he loves projects. So I must admit, I had a glass of wine and I said, hey, how about if we do a bicycle tour to Barcelona? And his son lives close to Barcelona, so that's why the Barcelona. His son and daughter-in-law, kids, and anyway, and he thought it was wonderful. So then I had to buy a bike, and I went to the bike shop where he had bought his, and I thought about buying a standard bike, but I wanted some advice, like what kind should I get? And he said, why don't you try one of these tricycles? And I thought, well, I don't need a tricycle. And he said, just sit on it. And I did, and it was so comfortable because you sit on a seat.
Oh, really?
And it's balanced, and it's so. And then I thought, well, that's actually better if I buy a tricycle too, because then you're the same and whatever. So we bought the tricycle, and we practiced, and we added all kinds of stuff to it so that it could have another battery, so you could have these longer trips. And so actually, I think just planning it was already the fun part. And having that goal, and, Case would tell everybody about it also. And so then people found out about it from the Parkinson organization, and they asked if they could interview us. So in the blog, you will see like a translation of that interview that the Parkinson organization held with us. And then we... one of the things, and people can read that in the blog or in that interview with the Parkinson. Case and I both linguists, and both have talked about what happens in the brain when you learn a language and what things happen. So, and we are very able to talk about these things. And Case has always been able to write funny stories, and he's able to make his own life, like how difficult it is to put on a sock. He makes it a hilarious story. And so he wrote these things, and then I co-wrote, and I put like all the little fragments, this is about emotions, this is about this is about that. And I would then sequence these stories and have like an introduction, like me as the person that's helping him take care, and his stories. So anyway, we had 2 books come out, and the people. And what I want to say about that is, it's not just to show how wonderful we are, but what I'm trying to do is, I can talk to him and find out what is it that's happening in your brain right now. Why are you doing this? Because he did, like for example, one time he said he came home from sports, and he said, "Oh, I'd love something to drink." And I pulled up his chair, and I put down the little table with the drinks and the glass. And he walks in, and he walks right past it and sits on the other chair. And, I could be angry or whatever, but I just looked at it and said, "Case, what did you do there?" And then he said, "Oh, I saw it, but I didn't realize it was for me." So he sees it, but that's what's happening with Parkinson's, like a kind of a disconnect, a disassociation. You see things, but you don't connect them the way you would do before that. So I think we talk about these things a lot, and I can talk, and sometimes I'm very impatient, and then I apologize for having, been impatient, but I say, what happened now? Why did this go wrong? And like recently, like the cycling went very well, and this also happened during our trip. The cycling goes very well, but then all of a sudden things go wrong. And I didn't realize it during the trip, but it's this medicine that runs out, and his dopamine level is too low, and then everything disappears. So, it's just, but I'm trying to, the object of also having written the blog and also writing the books is to actually show what's happening. And the way he tells his stories, it's fun to have somebody that actually is experiencing writing these things down. And so it's not as a doctor, like your cognition goes down, but it's like, this is what's happening. So it's,
That's such an interesting take on it. And I think I've never heard or read anything in this kind of, like in this aspect.
Yeah.
Not a very strict and patient and this kind of closure, but as from the person and the person who's with the
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you also had all your friends and family helping you on the way.
Yeah.
That was such a lovely read. Like you have a whole village with you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So one of those books, the last one, was read by Yannick and Darna, who you meet in the blog.
Yeah.
And they were our very first friends in Leiden, because when we wanted to move there, we didn't have a house, and they live on a houseboat. And we were able to rent that. We didn't know them. We rented that houseboat for 4 months, and then we got to know them that way. And they've been friends. But Janneke read our book, and about the second book, about that we were planning on taking that trip. And then she came over one night and said, "Hey, would you like for us to come with you?" And I had not, that was the best thing that ever happened to us. And I think, in retrospect, it would not have been possible without them. There was so much to do, and they were so helpful. So they said, all you had, so me had to do was you take care of Case, and you cycle with him, and you take care of Case, and then we'll do the rest.
Yeah, you could really focus on the experience and living in the moment, and
Yeah,
they had
yeah.
all the stuff around you.
Yeah, but it's not just living in the moment. I mean, it's a lot of work, because I had to keep an eye on him in my back mirror, and I had to navigate, and I had to make all the decisions, but that's very tiring.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So, but it, and also like taking care in the morning, making sure you get all his medicines and all this and that and the other. So, but it was wonderful. And the thing, again, for Parkinson patients, they get confused or insecure about things. So when I was going to do it on my own, I was thinking about going from hotel to hotel or a little B&B. But I was already dreading that, because every night a different surrounding would be very difficult. So then we came up with this idea of this tent. And so one of our other friends had this huge tent. I mean, you can stand up in it, and it gets blown up rather than pulls. So if Case were to fall, nothing would happen, and there's nothing that he could trip over. And so we arrange it exactly the same way every night. So at least every night the surrounding was the same. Yeah. And so, but this was wonderful. And I really didn't want it. So Case actually wanted to see if we could get sponsors and everything. And I just thought, oh no, please, let's not do that. But, we word of mouth, and I sent like the blog to my friends, and we had so many followers.
Great.
It was really fun, and they ended up saying, "Hey, well done, Case," responding to us. So that was just really that gave us courage too. Yeah.
You were doing the blog live, right?
Yes,
you were going
So every night I wrote something, and sometimes I didn't want to write anything, but then my Janneke and Arna said, "You got to write. They're waiting for you." And
You have your followers?
Yeah. And it was, I have had like so many responses, family members and whatever, because of course I exaggerate a bit, made it sound a bit funny. They were, "Oh, they made it today." And oh gosh, that happened, and like they were so worried. It was not that bad. It was actually, but if you write a bit, you can exaggerate a bit. So it was, but it was so much fun having so many followers.
Do you plan on taking like similar trips in the near future?
Well, I was so, if you've read the blog, at one point we stopped. And we stopped, we did 800 kilometers, but we were supposed to go to Barcelona. We didn't nearly make that. But what happened the day that worked, in retrospect, it was lack of dopamine. I didn't realize it that much, but he had gone, I'm better now at recognizing it and preventing it. But everything went so wrong, and I had to stop so many times, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. So that's why I made that decision. And I think we could have gone on for 2 or 3 more days, but this was a beautiful little campground. I thought Joan of Arc was just the perfect place. His sister was coming. I thought, I know that if I try 2 more days, it's going to be like this again. But at that time, I really thought, I don't think he could cycle anymore. He was so confused and so not with it that I thought, okay, this is not going to work. But then if you read the blog, 3 days later, he started cycling again. And I still was very worried. But now, again, we've cycled in the Netherlands. And we do tours like every other weekend or so. And it's going well. So, yes, we're going to do another tour. And but this time we'll stay in the Netherlands where it's flat. And I can't ask anybody to put up the tent this often anymore. So we're going to have like hotels. And I'm going to really book them in advance and not too far. And just make sure that, and in Holland you have that.
Yeah.
And then we have a lake, almost like the Balaton Lake. So that's what we're going to cycle around. Yeah.
People usually go around cycling Lake Balaton too.
Yeah, perhaps we should bring our tricycles here and do that. Yeah, that would be lovely. I thought about that one. Yeah.
Maybe not in the summer because it gets really hot.
It really gets hot. Yeah.
But a nice autumn trip.
Yeah, perhaps when it's a sports city. Are there bike paths all around?
Yeah, they made it a few years ago, so there's bike paths all around, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have to think about that. Wouldn't that be lovely? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And as a closing, what are the things that you keep with yourself from this journey?
Several things. One of the things, it's so fun to have a project like this.
Yeah.
Even when you don't finish it. But just so much better than sitting at home waiting for bad things to happen. This was just, it kept just so, so a project. So that's why Lake Balaton sounds really exciting. And the other thing is that so many people want to help. You've seen this in this blog. And I think I've learned is accept the help. It also really just, people want to do it. It makes them feel better too, perhaps. And I'm so grateful to all these people that have helped in so many different ways. Yeah, that's...
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really takes a village, but people can be amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marjolijn. And thank you, audience, for joining us. Don't forget to check out the blog. It's going to be in the bio. And take any chance for adventure. See you next time. Bye.